I'm Jo Barclay-Logie and welcome to another mini tutorial. This is another one of those back to basics in bead weaving, and I've already shown you how to do flat herringbone stitch, and I'll pop a link to that in the comments below here. And right now I'm going to show you how to do tubular herringbone stitch, which is a great beaded rope technique, and I'm going to show you how to make this cute little ombre style bracelet, which could be a stacker bracelet. So it beads up really quickly. I've used size 11s today, but you could use 8s, you could use 15s, you could mix it up, you could swap sizes halfway through. Your imagination is your only limitation. So let's get going and I'm going to show you how we do this. First of all, I just want to run through the colours I've used. I've used 6 colours. You can use as many or as few as you want, but just in case, these are some of my favourite colours, so in case you want to use some of the same colours, this first one is a Duracoat galvanised matte seafoam. Second one is a special dyed bright turquoise. The third one is an opaque turquoise green. The fourth one is a Duracoat opaque dyed seafoam. Fifth one is a mint green, and the sixth one is a white salon, and it's quite a nice graduation of my favourite, the turquoises. Right, so I have set up my beads from the darkest through to the lightest, and depending on how many colours you're using, you might want to label them up as I have. Just makes it easier if you're explaining to someone, pick up colour A or colour E rather than the full name of the bead. And I have made 2 bracelets here. One is shorter than the other. Made this one first and found it was way too big for me. That I made to about 7 inches, and this one I've made to about 6 inches. The top one I started with the darkest colour, worked my way to the lightest, back to the darkest, and I reversed it on the bottom one. So I've started with the lightest, worked to the darkest, and out to the lightest. On this 7-inch one, each colour block for the ombre effect is 10 rows, and on the shorter one I've made them 8 rows, so you can play around with length and the number of rows you do. You'll see on this short one I've made the middle section slightly longer as well, just for a bit of fun. So other than that, you're going to need your beading needle and some fireline or wildfire, Nymo, whatever your chosen thread is. And I tend to work with a double wingspan of threads, that's fingertip to fingertip, but if you want to work with slightly less and not get tangled up, that's fine. Some of the colours may be out of shot because I've just rearranged them so that I've got a bit more space to work in here. And I am going to start this the same way that I started the flat herringbone. Now, just as a reminder, I've popped a link to that in the comments below here for flat herringbone. So we're going to start the tubular herringbone with ladder stitch. And I'm going to start by picking up 4 of my colour A beads. Move them down towards the end of your thread and leave yourself a 20 centimetre tail, just so that you can use that tail to add in your clasp. It means you don't need to add on thread at the end. And to start my ladder stitch, I'm going to pass the needle up through the first 2 beads that I added on there. And when I pull my thread through, I've got 2 columns of 2 sitting side by side. I want to add a few more, so I'm going to pass the needle back down through the last 2. Pick up another 2 of my colour A. And to add them on, I'm passing back through those same last 2, but from the opposite direction. I've now got 3 columns of 2, and I'm going to add 1 more, so I'm passing back up through those last 2. Pick up 2 more of my colour A and pass the needle up through those 2. And I'm just going to come back down through the last 2 as if I was going to bead on further. So I've got 4 columns of 2, and I now need to join those last 2 where my thread is exiting to the first 2 where my tail thread is. So I'm going to bring my needle up through those first two, and that's going to join them at the base. So they joined at the base, but they're not joined at the top, so I'm going to come back down through those last two again. And because I like to work with my tail thread at the opposite end to my working thread, I'm just going to pass the needle back up through those first two. Then my working thread and tail thread are at opposite ends. I've just got it caught there. So I have got a little cube now of 2, 2 all the way round. So that is the width of my tubular herringbone. You could make it a lot wider. Instead of adding, initially we had 4 columns of 2, you could have 8 columns of 2. You could make it as wide as you want. And remember, I said you don't need to be using 11s. You can use 8s, which will give you a far chunkier piece, or 15s, which will make it even more delicate, or swap them halfway through. Now my thread is exiting this 11 at the top on the right. Each time I'm going to pick up 2 beads, so I've got 2 rows of my 8 if I'm doing the 6-inch bracelet, and I'm going to pick up 2 A's, and I'm going to pass down through one on the side, and those 2 that I've just picked up sit neatly above the 2 below it, so I've got 3 rows there. I'm now going to turn slightly, and I need to take my thread straight across that intersection between row 1 and 2, because then the thread will be sucked in between the beads, and I'm going to come up 1 bead on the left, and I'm trying so hard not to get my fingers in the way so that you can see what I'm doing. And even though I started with ladder stitch, there's still not much to hold on to. And now I'm turning, and I need to pick up 2 of colour A, and I'm going to come down 1 so that the 2 that I have just picked up sit above the 2 directly below, just like that. So now I have got 3 rows of beads all the way around. Again, I need to come straight across the intersection, but I'm now stepping up to do row 4. And when you step up, if you pop your needle across that intersection, you can see you're going to have to pass up through 2 beads rather than 1. So I'm coming up through those 2, and I'm now at the top of my work again, ready to pick up 2 of colour A, come down 1, come straight across and pass up through 1 bead, pick up 2 more of colour A, pass down through 1, and now I'm stepping up. You can see how my columns of beads are splitting, but as I step up, I'm stepping up through 2, and this will pull them together again. So I now have 4 rows of beads in my little tube for my tubular herringbone. I'm going to pick up 2A again, pass down through 1, and up through 1 alongside it. Pick up 2 more A's, pass down through 1, and it's time to step up, and a step up through 2, taking that thread straight across the intersection. So up through those 2. And so you would continue. So I'm going to come back to you when I've done 8 rows and just swap colours. I've now done my 8 rows of my beads in my little tubular herringbone, and I'm going to be changing colours now, but You might want to change sizes, so at this stage I could move from an 11 up to an 8, or from an 11 I could go to a narrower band of 15s, but I wouldn't make a big jump from a 15 to an 8, always go one step at a time to get either wider or narrower. But we're just going to change the colours, so I'm moving on to colour B now, and I'm continuing in the same way. I'm picking up 2 and going down the bead alongside the bead where my thread is exiting, because the 2 that I've just picked up are going to sit neatly on top of the previous 2. Turn your work slightly and come straight across and up through 1. Pick up 2 more B's, come down 1. And now if I come straight across, you can see I'm going to have to pass up through an A and a B to step up. So up through 2. And so I'm going to continue down through 1, up through 1. Pick up 2 B's, come down through 1, and step up through 2. This time it's through the 2 B's. And we'll do it once more. Pick up 2 B's, come down through 1. You can see how I'm just turning it slightly as I'm working, and up through 1. Pick up 2 B's, come down through 1. Just get them to sit neatly on top of the previous 2. And I'm going to step up and come up through 2. You can see the colour change there, and that's how you would continue all the way along your bracelet, adding in your colours. And you can see that on the ends I've just used a small clasp this time. I haven't used a toggle clasp. This is just a bolt ring clasp because it's a fairly narrow band and I didn't want anything too clumpy. So there you go. You've got your tubular herringbone. As always, if you've got any questions, just pop them down below and I'll get back to you and answer them as quickly as I can. Thanks for watching. Bye.